Hello, friends. I almost screwed that up. Pressed the wrong button, but we fixed it on the fly because I sort of know what I'm doing sometimes. And yes, I agree. The Rookie League is a good thing. I am Steak Mittens, and today we're going to be checking out a round of 64 Challengers Cup match. One of the last ones, actually. There's only a couple left. This may be one of I think there's only like 2 or 3. I mean, it is Wednesday, so we're basically at the end of the week. But it is going to be Cilche-os, coached by Big Chuck. And we have Skurgle, coached by Stassi, I think is the way you would pronounce that. I'm going to go with it. Of course, Big Chuck coming from Rel 4A, and Stassi coming from Rel 3C. Both of them finishing 3rd, exactly, interestingly enough. So only one division apart, both from Rel. It's probably as close to each other match as you could find, really, in terms of league standings, etc. You will note, once we look at the teams, which we're doing now, that their team values are mildly different. Good luck, Big Chuck. Yeah, well, they haven't started yet. We're going to talk about the teams a little bit and stuff, and then he'll vanish once the actual cast begins. Feel free to just post in chat that you are going into inducements and leaving whenever you do. That would be great. Cilche-os rhymes with chaos. I don't know if that's, but it's cliche. Cilche-os. I get it. See, I was thinking Cilche-os like it was a cereal, but it's Cilche-os, like, cliche chaos. Gotcha. Where were we? Right. So this is Big Chuck's team. They are 1830 TV with 60k in the bank if they feel like spending anything. We've got the full complement of warriors. No Mino, unfortunately. One of the warriors is armor busted. I know that feel. But he's Mighty Blow block. Get a Mighty Blow block. You can see what happens when you take Mighty Blow first on a Chaos Warrior. That one levels first. Weird how that happens. It's pretty good, but you only want to do it on like 1 or 2, just to accelerate some development while you're still fresh and have a hard time winning matches as 1000 TV Chaos or Nurgle. But we do have a fake big guy here with guard, block, and strength 5. Dead Meat is a pretty useful Chaos Warrior here. Air, the block, Mighty Blow, claw, tackle, guard Chaos Warrior. Pretty standard sort of Chaos Nurgle Warrior type build. Some combination of those skills in some order is generally what happens. Air is a market purchase. Okay. I guess that makes sense considering it doesn't fit with the team. Never mind. Oh well. Disappointing. Okay. For the things that aren't from the market, we've got a bunch of Beastmen. There's a fly in front of me. Regular block Beastman, Dirty Player Beastman, Wrestle Beastman. He's probably a Lino. 8, 9, 10. We have 1 bench. Who do we put on the LOS then? Because most of these guys it's probably these 3, right? 4. Yeah. Okay. We don't have any totally unskilled Beastmen, which is a little unfortunate. But he can go on the line as Wrestle. We get an Agi Beastman who can be is starting to become probably a backup ball carrier, or potentially can go into a sacker with Wrestle, but he hasn't leveled yet, so we don't know what he's going to do. For now, he's going to be potentially useful. We'll see what happens. A couple other Beastmen, 2 punchy ones. One is block, Mighty Blow, claw. One is block, Mighty Blow, tackle. One is more useful versus elves. One is more useful versus punch. Turns out we're in a punch matchup today. Standard, we've got the ball carrier you build if you don't have any skill, if you don't roll any doubles or stats. And that is sure hands, block, kickoff, return. You'd love to have, the stats from this one, or dodge. But unfortunately, he was dedicated as a ball carrier from the start, and therefore you kind of have to go all in with that. Otherwise, you've wasted a skill. So he's taken the other useful ball carrier skills. One day you'll roll a double can of worms. I believe in you. I think he needs fresh goats too. I do, True Blue. I have actually looked at his team before we started this. I did a tiny amount of research, a teeny tiny amount. And then we have Bone to Pick, Movement 7, Mighty Blow, tackle, block, higher movement blitzer to try to knock over those silly people with dodge. Bit of a safety piece. You would have probably liked wrestle first, but you can't choose when you roll plus movement. So, Apo, 3 rerolls, 1830, 60k. This is Big Chuck's team. Now let's see if I can remember where Stassi's team was. There it is. Skurgle, 2100. And he doesn't have any money to spend, so I believe that puts us at 270 TV for Big Chuck to grab something with. So there's a couple options there. I mean, a wizard might not be bad considering he has that agi piece. Extra Apo against Nurgle is generally not frowned upon, considering it's kind of like pseudo bench because you can use one ultra aggressively. Potentially even just a rookie beast so that you could put something on the line that you don't really care about. Also gives you a bit extra bench. Maybe you can foul more liberally. Bribe is probably good considering as a dirty player. A lot of options there. We'll see what he does. Speaking of players that used to be on Metal's team, here is the ex-girlfriend. You see some things that make you go ugh all over this league. There's a couple. The Beast of Nurgle is in Rel 1 or Rel 2. Rel 2, I think. The Ball Carrier is in G-Man 1 currently. So there's bits of his ex-Nurgle team all over the place. But that's a Legend Nurgle Warrior. The sort of skills that I already said in the previous review there of teams. Block, Claw, Mighty Blow, Tackle, Guard, and Stand Firm in some order is a very standard Nurgle or Chaos level. And this is the order that Metal chose to take them in for Skurgle to pick up. Along with that, we actually have some players that the tackle on Big Chuck's team will be useful for. Namely, we've got a Blodge Nurgle Warrior. Dodge first. I shouldn't criticize it because I've done that. But it's slow. I will tell you, this guy was painful to get to block, I tell you. And it's very slow, but it's great once you get like Blodge Guard Stand Firm. He's just really, really slow to level, and it's kind of sad, especially when dodges first. We've got another sort of Nurgle Warrior who's just missing the tackle aspect of the full skill package with Hurl-Ogatosh, the Displacer. And then the last one is just a block guard. So three guard there. But we have an extra one. Guard on a Rotter it's kind of like guard on a Necro or Undead Zombie. You know, it's great to have, but suddenly they're not really disposable anymore because it's a little different on Nurgle because you do have 5 players that can get guard very quickly, and the Beast and the 4 Warriors. Extra guard is never a miss, but they become less disposable all of a sudden. And considering Rotters are designed to be disposable, it's a little annoying, but it's great to have while he's alive. You just abuse him until he dies. There's a dirty player Rotter and some other Rotters. It does mean that we don't have 3 rookie Rotters to go on the line against a fellow punchy team. So you're going to either have to expose this guy or this guy on the LOS, neither of which you particularly want to do. You could use the Beast of Nurgle, but then he's just going to get hit. He is a rookie, so he's not incredibly valuable in this matchup, being a rookie, and there not being very much to dodge away from tentacles, but it just feels bad to be like, here you go, have my 140k piece. I'm just going to stomp that on the line for you real quick. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, O. Is a Pestigore. Wrestle Tackle. We've got the standard set of Pestigores here. I mean, we've got the Sacker Pestigore. He's got Wrestle Tackle. We've got the we'll come to him at the end. We've got the ball carrying Pestigore with dodge, block, sure hands, and fake agi 4. We've got the killer Blitzer Pestigore with Mighty Blow, Claw, piling on block in some order. And then we've got the sort of utility extra Pestigore that you see different on different teams. Some people have like the guard piece, some people have the frenzy piece. Here we have the frenzy piece. Tackle, strength, block, frenzy. So he can strength 5 frenzy people, which is kind of cool. Although he is vulnerable to counter surfing if you attempt to use him with the surf because he doesn't have his own stand firm yet. But strength 5 frenzy is nothing to shake a stick at on the blitz anyway. So this is Skurgle by Stassi. The Beast of Nurgle was replaced recently. Yeah, well, he's a rookie. When that would explain that. I mean, what are his? How many games has he played? 2. So not unsurprising. He's not going to be particularly useful in this matchup, I don't think. I mean, when a Beast of Nurgle is a rookie, his job is to mark up dodgy players and hope that Tentacles works. Or get 3-die hits on like squishy things to try and level up. And that's not really going to happen in a Chaos match. My money is probably on Stassi, personally, just because it turns out that Chaos versus Nurgle, on average, the Nurgle are probably going to get a little bit more in terms of removals because they've got regen, they've got foul appearance. So sometimes blocks won't work, and sometimes they get a player back from an injury. So, you know, the numbers, like on average, if they played 100 games, you know, the Nurgle will probably have a little bit of advantage that way, and it is a bigger team. And it's not crazy bigger. It's, you know, we get a bribe and something else, probably, for Big Chuck. So it's nothing that's going to swing the game massively in one way or the other in terms of inducements. And Nurgle always want to be up, generally. They're not too scared of enemy inducements if they have the better players. Yeah, exactly true, Blue. If I was forced to bet on this game, which I wouldn't because I don't really bet, I would pick the Nurgle, but, you know, it always could go either way. I know Big Chuck, we were in college together. It was I know he is certainly a good coach. So, you know, and as we've seen a lot of stuff in this playoff, in these playoffs that is surprising happen. But if I had to pick a team to be the team that I think would win, I think I would probably pick Stassi and Skurgle. But we'll see what happens. I managed to talk for precisely 11 minutes. Which, oops, that's not the right thing. So perhaps our match is ready to go. Let's find out, shall we? There it is. Perfect timing me. I played in the Cripple Cup last season. I made it farther than I expected to. I had a good time. Although it was weird. I'm so used to casting my own games. Like, I stream every game I play. It felt really awkward having someone else, like a third party, cast my game. It's like all these people are judging me, and it's different when I can't explain my own actions to the people that are watching. Or, you know, they're not my own fans or whatever. Not that I particularly have an incredible amount of fans or anything. It just felt weird, you know? Looks like we've got Big Chuck on defense first, and he's picked up a Wizard and an extra Apo and a Babe as his inducements. I'm surprised he didn't go for a bribe here. I mean, there are two... he does have the Agi Goat that could potentially take advantage of that Wizard. There are two idiot rotters, like a blade of rotters that could slow down the removal game. But the bribe, if you could ever get a good a bribe, maybe will make Stassi could reconsider piling on in certain situations. If you can ever knock out a Nurgle warrior with a good foul, sometimes all of a sudden you have a player like a strength advantage. So I think I personally would have taken a bribe, but this also makes sense. An extra Apo, we can Apo very aggressively at least once to try and keep a player on the field, like a badly hurt or a KO or something. Babe means those KOs are likely to come back, and Wizard, maybe we can stop the Nurgle from scoring one time. Well, regen means that there's a chance that he will come back later, but it takes him off the field for that drive, and that can be relatively important. I mean, there's it gives you the option to power Apo Incesticide. I'm not saying that's why he took it. I'm saying you can do it if you have to. Power Apoing with only one Apo is a little terrifying, especially when you're up against Nurgle. And it's time for the Nurgle LOS blocks. 2 down so far. No results yet, though. 3-die from the beast. Against the Wrestle Goat is a little scary, but it was a 3-die. So what do we have left? We have a Blitz, who is probably going to be this Nurgle Warrior if I was a betting man. And then we have to pick up the ball. Although it was at a... I think we're picking it up on someone else and aiming for a Vanity Pass, potentially. Because he didn't pick it up on the ball carrier. Well, I don't know. Some people don't have that competitive drive, perhaps. I know I'm one of them. Like, when I was in the Challengers Cup last season, I strongly debated not taking it just because I didn't really want to play on the big stage, as it were, more than anything else. But I seriously doubt that's why he wanted to, or wasn't considering it. Some people don't want it because of team implications, you know, that like their team how it is. They don't want to take any more damage before next season. Which seems weird to me, honestly, because winning the Cripple Cup or Cripple Cup, Challengers Cup, or doing well in the Challengers Cup is a great path to like shooting up the divisions really quickly. And it turns out it's a lot easier to get into playoffs from a division with more playoff tickets, such as 1 or 2, than it is in 4 or 5. Nurgle taking their time here. We still have to pick up the ball, and we still have to blitz the thing. That implies we're potentially blitzing the goat rather than one of the Chaos Warriors. Hello, Velenik. He does want the foul. It's certainly true. He's probably going to go for a foul on one of these goats. This one, potentially. He still has to pick up the ball, and he still has to blitz, though. So I feel like setting up for a foul before you know where the ball is going to be is maybe a little aggressive. Although it's not like the Chaos can really do anything about it currently. Even if he doesn't pick up the ball, the Chaos are too far away to accomplish much. You do have to be a little careful, though, if you get in too much of a war without having the ball safe. That Agi Goat could break free, that Wrestle Goat could break free, and then suddenly you're a little scared. I don't know. I see it as like if your ultimate goal is winning the playoffs, right? Like, if your goal is to just have fun, then who cares? It doesn't really matter what you do as long as you're having fun. Cool. If your idea of having fun, or your ultimate goal is to win the playoffs, then I think the Challengers Cup is a reasonable way to do that, because it fast tracks you to the higher divisions, where it's generally easier to make the playoffs. That's an instant send off for just a stun. The Chaos have got to be pretty happy about that. They took all 3 LOS blocks and only and a foul and a blitz, and we suffered a stun for it. And we also passively removed a Pestigor Rotter. There are still Rotters to go, but that means these Nurgle are down 1 ablative Rotter for this drive. Big Chuck can't be too upset with that turn, I don't think. Hey man, everybody plays Blood Bowl for different reasons. At the end of the day, it's a silly goblin football game that we all play to have fun. If your idea of fun is competitive, ultra hardcore competition, then cool, you do that. If your idea of fun is derping around, then you do that too. At the end of the day, it's a silly goblin football video game that we play. Well, the Chaos don't get any free blocks, at least. But we do have... there's a couple options here. I mean, we could just take our 2-die hit on one of these Chaos Warriors who are out front, potentially to try to get a removal out of it. This Rotter is the most likely removal, if that's what you're aiming for. He's armor 8, he doesn't have regen, he's decay. And it does open up this side a little bit, if you wanted to then go around the turn after. Looks like we're aiming for the killer. He is the biggest threat to this team. It is one of the killers, I should say. We do just find a stun. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to want to foul that. 1, because the dirty player is here, and 2, because we're not going to get any assists out of it. It puts a little bit of pressure on the Nurgle too. I mean, so we've got these guys. As long as we just stand up these goats, these guys are gonna have to make blocks before they do anything. These guys are cut off from their own. We didn't stand up the goats actually, so we could move these Nurgle warriors back. It would give out free hits technically, but these guys are sort of screened off from their own team. No, and I think I agree with this, honestly, because there's some pressure, but not really very much. We can just move up behind this and then get it safe. It's only 2 players, we don't have to worry about them too much. But sorry, Stassi does have to make sure that he ends this turn in a reasonable position, and he's not giving the Chaos an in. We don't have much in the way of we can't make any free blocks, certainly. All we have really available is the Blitz and a block with a Rotter, if we'd like. So my play this turn would be to Blitz something, and then try to get myself in a safer position to start trying to progress forward. But we'll see. Oh, well, I mean, it depends on what you felt like you were doing. I think you would stand them up if you had more players back here, just to stop these guys from doing stuff easily. But since we only have 2, and they're not really in a terribly threatening position currently, I think it's the right idea to just leave them on the floor. Especially since the dirty player is off. If the dirty player was still on, it becomes a lot scarier, but the dirty player is over here anyway. So it was unlikely that he was going to get to foul one of these guys with as many assists as you'd like. So who are we going to, who and what is doing and receiving the blitzing this turn? Considering this piece, who would love to be doing the blitzing, is stunned. It's probably going to be one of these 2 Nurgle warriors. And their options are, I mean, this guy and Bad Egg and Necessary Evil are probably the 2 easiest blitz targets. I mean, you could go after one of these guys down here with the Nurgle warriors, but then they're moving further away from probably where they would like to be, which is defending their ball a bit. They do want to be careful not to get spread out too much. We'll see. Well, that's a block from this Rotter on the Chaos Warriors, what we're lining up there. So the 2 remaining things we have to do this turn is decide where the ball's going and something to hit. Not blitzing with the Claw Mighty Blow. Is what we've decided to do here. Which, is probably not great. I mean, I guess it depends. If you have a very specific thing you want to do and you need to blitz a specific target or use a specific player for, you know, strategic reasons or what have you, then sure. But if you just need to blitz something and you have the option to blitz something with a Mighty Blow Claw, why not? Here's the Rotter block. We do find the knockdown on the armor 8 Chaos Warrior, actually. Bad Egg. Oh, we break armor. He's just stunned. All of the anti-kill team or anti-bash team people in chat are probably disappointed that so far it's only been stuns all around. Here comes the Frenzy Blitz. We did make that a 3-die, considering he's strength 5 on the Blitz. There we go. I talk about it, and then we find one. Injury on anything goes. There's the power Appo. Instantly Appos right into the substitutes. So both teams are now at 10 players on the pitch, but one of those was a Rotter, and one of those was a Mighty Blow Claw Goat. We still have the Mighty Blow Claw Chaos Warrior, and we have the Mighty Blow Goat over here, but I think that's the only Claw Mighty Blow for Big Chuck. Which is, or no, well, besides this, there's the Chaos Warrior. It was the only Claw Mighty Blow Beastman, is what I meant to say. So both teams out their speedier Claw Mighty Blow blitzing threats. It wasn't MNG. That was fairly aggressive. Oh, okay, right. The movement guy is down here. I was like, with the commitment to blitz this piece over here, I was going to be surprised that we didn't move to this side, but the movement piece is on this side, so it's not being over here isn't safe. Although if we were blitzing this piece just for the purposes of attempting to remove him, I'm not sure why we didn't try to hit him with one of the Nurgle Warriors. This guy doesn't have guard. We could have just come in from this side, right? 1, 2... Oh no, we would have had to GFI and go around. Okay. Could have also tried to hit just one of the Chaos Warriors with the Nurgle Warrior instead, but I understand the desire to remove the Claw Mighty Blow mobile piece. The ball is not safe. Not in the slightest. We have a 3+2 die. Right here. Can you just reach? No, you're too far away, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you're too far away. Where's the Agi Goat? Right, we could do it here. We would be doing it without block, but that doesn't really matter because this guy has wrestle. Why do we have the ball? Oh, it's because of the wizard. I was gonna say, why do we have the ball in the wrestle piece? But it's because he's scared of the wizard. Lightning bolting his ball carrier. Which I don't know if I agree with. I mean, I understand you want him as a recovery piece afterwards, but keeping him on the wrestle means that this 2+ is available. Oh, and we find the armor break too. I'm not saying that name, but he gets KO'd. One more 2+, and we can pick it up with the Agi Goat. But that's a removal of a Pestigore, even just for the drive, is pretty useful. This is a good turn so far for Big Chuck. Try to dodge out that Chaos Warrior. Try to get towards the ball. But we 1-9 it, which is disappointing. Alphabet row? Alright, got it. I mean, we were trying to get that Chaos Warrior over towards the ball to help cover it up. And instantly 1-9ing. It is a 1-9 because Chaos Warriors are at G3. I'm used to Nurgle Warriors. I do play Nurgle. I don't know if that was the correct choice initially. I mean, we do super want to get the ball covered up. This is a 3+ pickup, even if we don't do anything about this Agi piece. And why would we not do something about this Agi piece? But, I mean, we had an uphill unless we put an assist in. These guys are too far away to accomplish much with the ball. You could either have GFI'd to pick up with this guy, or done this, if you wanted to get more safety on the ball, as it were. But, yeah, there was a 2 die available, wasn't there? I don't remember. I don't remember what the state of the pitch was. I just comment on things as they happen. But the ball is on the floor. And so suddenly the Nurgle have to probably spend a lot of their turn doing something about that, rather than A, going forward, and B, attempting to kill Chaos players. So that's not bad for Big Chuck. He would have preferred, you know, the ball being in his hands and further down the pitch or something, but you can't have everything. And he does still have his wizard. Hello, Herringzord. I'm good. How are you? Welcome along. So, you were on the floor and you're marked up. Okay, here's the blitz. I knew we were going to blitz this player at some point, and basically your option was the guy who you want to pick up the ball with. Okay, so the Claw Mighty Blow guys don't do very much, but it turns out the guys that don't have Claw Mighty Blow just get injuries. Not using the second Apo on that badly hurt. And then following that, we pick up the ball. No, this is weird. So like all of the Claw Mighty Blow piling on hits have resulted in stuns. And all of the like extra arms 2 heads block and frenzy strength 5 hits have resulted in injuries. As long as you don't have Mighty Blow, it seems you're more dangerous in this game than if you do have Mighty Blow. That's not safe still. This player, for one, exists. We need to do something about him. Hidden Claw Mighty Blow. Apparently, the extra arm has a claw on it. I mean, it does. If you zoom right in, that extra arm totally has a claw on it. That is better, but still not safe. We can make 0 dodges and 2 GFIs to 2-die that ball with block tackle. Although this guy does have at least block. That Agi guy being injured is a little unfortunate. The wizard is still available for Big Chuck, so having the Agi guy just like on the floor, and then these players not really capable of doing a whole lot to help defend the ball carrier. Wizard Agi leave was an option, but that Agi being gone makes that not an option anymore. Hidden Claw Mighty Blow. That is a good team name. Really stupid on the beast. Doesn't really do much right now. Just annoying, I think. That doesn't do much, because these guys are currently tied up by Nurgle Warriors. But it means we have exactly this Rotter to do anything about this. So we can now 3+2+2+2 die it still. We can cut the corner and 2 GFIs, right? And we can still 2-die the ball with stupid is as stupid does. We don't have a ton in the way of recovery, considering that Agi guy is on the floor, or in the injury box, I should say. The other option we do have is this, which just happened. So there you go. Ooh, that's a tempting greed reroll, but having already used 1, going down to 1 on turn 3 is a little, it's very tempting to greed that. Big Chuck not electing to do so, and I think I like that. But then again, I've also been accused of treating rerolls like they're coming out of my paycheck, so I probably wouldn't listen to my own advice about rerolls. This was the other option. I mean, this character right here, Lassa is pretty terrifying for Big Chuck. He's one of the big threats for removals, being the piling on piece. So just getting a free chance to Claw Mighty Blow him was pretty tempting. But so far, we're not rewarded for our desire to injure the injurers. And this is where you'll see people... Time to ignite the debate about rerolling. I have a glass here that you might be able to hear. I cheers you. Enjoy. I wouldn't have rerolled there, and I'll leave it at that. dodging out the movement piece and keeping him back is a bit of a safety. Although these three players are now perfectly capable of accomplishing whatever they want. And Big Chuck is pretty committed to this side, but so are the Nurgle. Having this guy as a safety is probably a good idea, but the Nurgle right now can basically fully get their ball safe by just going this way and then using these players to protect themselves, because Big Chuck is very committed on this side. Oh, that makes it a bit harder because we have 2 players over here. And we can't get a full cage with only these 3, but we do have this player available as well. So if the Nurgle want to, they could just walk over here and make a full cage and then be like, alright, cool, reset. They also get to make a Claw Mighty Blow here, but in order to do so, they need to activate the Beast first, just to take away that assist. And then they'll probably blitz a thing. Probably. Generally, blitzing a thing is a good idea in Blood Bowl. Wizard was an option. But the this pest was moved 8 squares away from the Pestigore, so the Wizard... there's probably going to be better Wizard opportunities, to be fair. But it was an option, and we should always consider options. I don't know, Herringsword. That's not for me to say. I'll continue to drink my old-fashioned. Oh, that's unfortunate. That means if we want to get a 2-die out of this, out of the ex-girlfriend, which we kind of do because Claw Mighty Blow is good, we're going to need to get an assist in here with something else. And that option, it basically limits our options here now, because if we want an assist, we have to use this guy, which we're going to do. Now we get an assist. But that means he's not capable of blitzing anyone over here. So we're going to have to blitz with this piece, and if we blitz with that piece, he's probably not available to help defend the ball, which is only going to give us these 2 players to defend the ball against this. That's what I do, Herringsword. I let people form their own opinions. It is Metal's Nurgle Warrior. The Nurgle started with the ball. Metal's team has sort of dispersed. I was trying to find a better word than dispersed. And osmosis kept coming to mind, but that's not the right word. But they have dispersed through Rel, it seems. Rel and G-Man. These are both Rel coaches, but his Beast and this Nurgle Warrior are both in Rel. His ball-carrying Pestigore is in G-Man. Every once in a while you see a player whose name is like the ex-girlfriend or the ex-wife, and you're like, oh, I know where that came from. Yes, so this was the Nurgle started the drive, so that's Stassi. This is their drive. Big Chuck was on defense. The Nurgle left a 2-die open on their ball, pretty easy one. Big Chuck took that, and that's why these players are up here now. And the Nurgle are now trying to recover from being sacked. Better hope you break armor here. The ex-girlfriend is pretty special. Oh, well, we do break armor, so never mind. Let's say you just pushed somebody right onto your ball. They did have guard, but it's a beast. They have horns. If you didn't break armor there, we had a free 1-die. Probably could have engineered a 2-die. Bailed out by breaking armor. I mean, yeah, we totally could have engineered a 2-die as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In fact, if we're willing to roll a 3 plus 2 plus, 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus, we can still 2-die the ball with Wrestle. Stand up the warrior. This warrior? This guy has guard, so if you're blocking from here, this guard counts against that. this warrior? That's a failed router dodge. Here he comes. Speaking of said thing, this is not a safe place to put the ball. Oh, I just broke my comb. I've been fiddling with a comb in my hand and I broke one of the teeth. This is why I'm not allowed to touch anything. This is the second sack we've had on the ball here on the Nurgle team. Nurgle haven't been doing the greatest job of keeping themselves protected from blitz attempts. But a lot of the chaos are generally pretty tied up, and with that Agi player being out, the recovery options have been fairly limited, along with things like scattering into Nurgle tackle zones being disappointing. Oh boy. I mean, so who needs to protect the ball when it just scatters into tackle zones of other players? It's fine. The scatters favor you, you'll be okay. Yeah, we're gonna need to have this player available to do something. Ball cages for you, it's fine. Failed dodge. Not rerolling that one, obviously. And we go over to the Nurgle. I mean, there's a 2-die here, which is why we put this guy here, so that after we make this 2-die, there's still at least a dodge. But it's not off tackle anymore if we block this guy away. And we could also just blitz this guy if we wanted to, but this is a 2+ dodge. And you may wish to blitz this guy, perhaps. We do get to, we will get to block dead meat if we can, if this beast decides to not be really stupid for once in his miserable life. This is the second hit. It's the second 2-die we've allowed. Even if we were in a worse position and we allowed like 1 2-die and then 1 1-die or something, because we had to, I wouldn't be particularly upset. But the fact that we've allowed 2 straight up 2-dies within 4 turns is concerning. That is very true. Once the first one happens, you do get sort of on the back foot and have to spend your turns recovering a little bit. But there were better options here, right? Like, if we could have made a full cage around this ball carrier over on the side of the field if we were more willing to move players instead of just base them up or try to get hits out of stuff. There's the second Apo gone. Both aggressive Apos. Hey, that was a Claw Mighty Blow doing a thing. I think that's the first Claw Mighty Blow caused injury this game. All the other ones have been from people without Claw Mighty Blow. It's 2 players down for Big Chuck. 2 players down for Stassi. Although I think Big Chuck's players are a little more critical than a Rotter and a Wrestle Tackle Pastigore. We've got a Claw Mighty Blow block and a Block Claw Mighty Blow Guard Tackle Chaos Warrior out. That's a double skull. Instantly rerolled. That is true, I think, Mingle. It's easier to see them with hindsight and the sort of wisdom of the crowd, right? We're crowdsourcing Blood Bowl here. There are 35 of you plus me talking about what could have been done, and it's a lot easier to say that as 35 of us than it is as one person. But I do really feel that he made a mistake early on with his positioning with the ball over here in an unsafe position, and he's been a little bit on the back foot ever since, and he's just been trying to recover. And could that have been done better? Probably. But this is the situation we currently find ourselves in. Yeah, exactly, Herring Zord. It's sort of like you fall into you have to at least spend a turn or so trying to fix your mistakes. And if you don't fix them in the proper way, it can cascade pretty quickly. I think that's what I was trying to get at. It's very easy to fall into a trap of trying to play normally instead of, okay, I'm going to dedicate this turn to fixing my mistake and getting myself back in a good position. And sometimes you just need to identify that at the start of the turn and say, like, this is what this turn is for. I mean, it is a mistake, I would say. Perhaps he just is... Chapsu is saying that he's just trying to maximize Claw Mighty Blow every time, which is a playstyle that some people go for. And I don't know, maybe you're defining the word mistake in a different way than I am. But it seems to me that that is a variable thing depending on the matchup and the situation you're in. There are times in which it's great to maximize Claw Mighty Blow. There are times in which it's not great to maximize Claw Mighty Blow. And not knowing the situation or misidentifying the situation is certainly a mistake. Maximizing Claw Mighty Blow, I think, is Nurgle 101 for people who haven't played Nurgle very often or very much. I think is the point being made there. But I agree. I think protecting the ball better would have been better. Now we're in a bit of a rough position, certainly. Having to do some interesting things to try and get going forward. We're under a lot more... I guess let me put it this way. The Nurgle coach is under a lot more pressure than he'd probably want to be, given the situation and how things have gone for him in terms of armor breaks, etc. He would like to be in a better position than he is, and he probably could have been if he chose to do things differently. Did Orabi ever get to playoffs? He didn't this season, or last season, if I recall correctly. But probably previously. He wasn't always as Orabi as he is currently. So, it is the Nurgle's turn. The Nurgle still have the ball. They have this turn and 2 more to go. The Chaos have a loose screen. Not really much of a screen, honestly, but there are technically players in the way, which is what I believe we call a screen. We have a lot of players that are available to do what we want, considering most of the Chaos are in the ground. If I was going to play this turn, I would probably blitz this guy and then just cage up over here. Because then these guys can probably still get in front, but most of these players are now behind you, and you're very close to making sure that you're in a good scoring position for turn 8. Or turn 7, you do have to be aware about the wizard. If we don't put ourselves in scoring position this turn, the wizard could easily be used to prevent you from scoring at all on your drive, which would be pretty disappointing as the Nurgle. I think as long as Big Chuck still has a full team, other than that injured Agi guy who's not incredibly important to this team currently, these guys will come back because of the super aggressive Appos. So if Big Chuck ends this half 0-0, even if he's had to use the wizard to do so, I think he's pretty happy about that in terms of trying to win the game. He then gets to go on the offense, probably more likely to get his own removals, especially when he gets his Claw Mighty Blow players back. And if he plays it right, we could see this game end 1-0. True. Oh dear. In the Bashmere. Yes, very clearly the meta. I also do not like not going forward there. As mentioned, I think my plan would have been to blitz this guy to try to clear a bit of space. and then move as far forward as you could while keeping the ball safe, like, you know, roughly cage or potentially screening instead of caging, you know, screen like along the vertical line here and ball over here. Depending on what happens with this guy, of course. If he's not armor broken, then the vertical line doesn't work as well, because he is plus movement. Because we have the wizard exists, right? So if we don't score on turn 7, we could be in a situation where a wizard prevents the score on turn 8, and that's a little terrifying. We do have to. So if the Nurgle are planning on scoring on turn 8, they're gonna have to really make sure they have multiple scoring threats available, and, you know, within 3 to 4 squares of the end zone, and that would be these two Pestigors, basically, would be the threats. Considering this one is off the field, and the other options are Nurgle Warrior, and this one is stunned. You could play for the 2 in overtime win. I mean, it's very difficult to say in any situation. You know, this is the best he could hope for, because honestly, the best he could hope for is being 8-0 up on your opponent's drive, because, you know, that would be theoretically the best that could happen. What I think is likely to happen is that Big Chuck would be pretty pleased getting away with a scoreless defensive drive, even if he has to use the wizard to do so. I think I would be happy in this situation, which is generally how I base my commentary, because it's very hard to think as somebody else. But it turns out I know how to think as me, and that's what me says. Last time I checked, I was me. But that was a while ago, so, you know. I'd like to save the wizard for the second half, but you do want to consider the implications of using said wizard. If we were on turn 8, and you could say, with 100% certainty, you could trade this wizard for your opponent not scoring, I would probably take that. If it's like 50-50, well then probably not. It depends on what situation the Nurgle leave the Chaos in, and what situation the Chaos leaves themselves in. Ideally, I think you like to save it, but I'm trying to say that I think you would be happy with that situation if it occurred. Did I, Drenner? I don't know. The Nurgle, I think, got bailed out by a lucky scatter or two a little bit. I hate to use that terminology, but I think that is fair to say. And the Chaos don't have much of a... They can get in front of the ball here, certainly, but they don't have much of a hope at sacking this turn. The Nurgle do have to be aware that a wizard exists. That's an injury. So that's the 2 ablative rotters down. One from an injury and one from a foul. So that's the bench gone through. Any more injuries are for realsies injuries. In any sort of like Nurgle Chaos, 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 Nurgle, Nurgle, Big Bash Team, Mirror, your own drive is generally where you get most of the removal progress done. So if you can finish a defensive drive, at least in my experience, I find that a lot of my matches end up being my opponent removing the bejesus out of me on their drive, and then me removing the bejesus out of my opponent on my drive. So if you finish your opponent's drive with most of your team, at least all of your good players available, and in fact only being down 1 and that not being enough to remove your bench, generally pretty good. I don't know. The warrior dodge was certainly aggressive, but there wasn't a whole lot else he had available. There was probably 1 or 2 other moves he could have made first, but that warrior dodge was coming that turn, I think. Okay. Rerolls down for the Nurgle. We do, this does have the benefit of bringing Cryo into relatively easy scoring range. and trying to control bone to pick a little bit. But we do have to be careful with what's available. It's not going to be terribly difficult to block down this beast. And this is a Wrestle Beastman who's in range of this whole half of the field. This is a Tackle Beastman who's in range of a good chunk of this field. And the Nurgle have approximately 2 Chaos Warriors and the ball to do anything about it. The good news is they both do have guard, so if you position carefully, you could be at least partially safe. Because you are relatively stuck. You are relatively stuck. At least you can't reach anything useful. You could dodge out with this guy if you wanted to. Which I would consider. If you stand up, it's not going to really prevent any of these hits. Because this guy is guard. You do the block with this guy, and this guy's an assist. So just standing him up doesn't do anything. You could attempt to dodge him out and also allow, try to help with the screen, but you can't get to a particularly good place. That's aggressive forward positioning. So if we want to do like the eye cage with sort of 2 guard Nurgle warriors, this guy's gonna have to GFI, and this guy's gonna have to double GFI, and we don't have any rerolls. You could just block this piece to take away that problem, but you have to be aware of this guy. And right now we only have 1 Nurgle warrior to get in the way, and if we block this beast down, then 1 Nurgle warrior is not going to be able to do the job. A bolt is also an option. The problem is, you'd love to... This is one of those situations where you really wish you could wizard in the middle of your turn, right? That would be so broken. But he'd love to be able to just, like, recover with this guy, rather than have to blitz. But you really want that beast to Nurgle down before you make that decision. So that does make this not a 2-die, but that doesn't really matter because it's a rookie Beast of Nurgle where you have block. Okay, so we took away that with the block, which is one of the options here. Do we wizard? Big Chuck. Do we wizard? We'll see when we get to Big Chuck's turn. We could wizard the ball carrier. We could wizard this Nurgle warrior who's kind of in the way of this player, and then knock down the beast with a 2-die and then go forward to blitz the ball. We could just could just wizard the ball carrier. We could choose not to wizard entirely. So if he wizards, breaks armor, and this ball scatters back a square, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and he's out of range, is what people are talking about here. The only option he would have is the Nurgle warrior pickup. That's... Oh, why did you activate that beast? Why? Okay, well, now we 2-die this guy and then splits the ball. Activating that beast was a mistake. Speaking of definitions of mistakes. Goes for the wizard, and it fails. Okay, so all that debate about the wizard was irrelevant because the wizard rolled a 1. Wizard. Lizard wizard. Cheers, wizard. Welcome to my life. I'm gonna harp on this forever. And anybody who's ever heard one of my casts or div reviews has heard me talk about this. But there's a period over 2 seasons in Rebel where I failed 7 wizards in a row. I had 8 wizards for over the course of 2 seasons, and I rolled 1s for 7 of them. Best rower needs to rename himself to Lightning Rod. Rolling 1s is a mistake. Well, we can still do this. It's not as great, but we can still do this. So we want to block down this Nurgle Warrior. He's got stand firm, so we are looking for a 5+. Annoyingly enough. But if we knock him down, and then we have a blitz on the ball, it's a 2-die where we need a knockdown, but I think that's worth doing. Or wait, can we do it with the wrestle piece? We could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we were willing to roll GFIs, we could have blocked with the used this guy as an assist, blocked with the wrestle piece, and if we got that knocked down, well, then if it was wrestled, this piece would have had to go around. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which isn't really possible. So I guess it's the same. The wrestle wasn't good enough. Never mind. Well, he got an injury on a Nurgle Warrior who failed the regen, so that's an actual permanent removal, considering we've gotten 2 removals out of the team so far, and this KO might not even come back, and that's a big one. I mean, that was kind of a rando block from this strength from Dead Meat, but Dead Meat is a hero because he just took out that Claw Mighty Blow block guard, stand firm. I mean, I would trade the wizard for him being out for the rest of the game. Maybe not. But that's still a good consolation prize. Oof. Wait, did we not blitz? Oh, yes, we did. It just the icon didn't occur. Well... Oh, and the scatter went forward, of course. I was worried about that. I didn't see the lightning bolt, but I guess that was just a weird graphics glitch. Get the ball. Oh, man. Okay, so the wizard failed, but we did manage the dodge and the pickup, and we have the ball now. We've used the reroll, though, so what do we do with it? This guy is still in scoring range. So, and you're not going to get out of range of this blitz. So we're going to... Oh. I was about to say we could punt it, but that didn't work. But throwing it into the... Oh yeah, throwing it into the crowd probably would have been the best option. It's a short pass. But he rolled a 1, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Eat the ball, you idiot. Just swallow it. I like that. He made a short pass. But you mean a quick pass? Which is a 3+. You cannot have 2+ past it. Your elf is showing, David. But yeah, all he really needed to do is put it like here. Here was far enough that it wasn't really possible. So you didn't need to send it very far. The inaccurate pass, I guess, is true. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, just like I would have pucked it to this square, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the scatters make it impossible to score, likely, because these ones are not likely to show up in this tiny corner of the field. If it landed here, it's still at least in your tackle zone. Here is weird. He's gonna have to roll dodges to go here. Like, if you just aim for this square, I think is probably the best place to throw it. Or where did I say? This square? This square? It doesn't really matter. Well, here we go. We have no rerolls, and we're gonna, it looks like we're gonna try to make blocks before we do the things that allow us to score. A double skull there would have been glorious. But no, we find the knockdown, but we don't find any removal out of it. So I think if you do anything else other than try to score, you're probably a little silly here. Good, we make it. That was awful greedy. That last block was awful greedy. I mean, you needed specifically dub skulls, I think, to fail it, but still. Dub skulls happen. The good news is, I mean, the bad news is we've used the wizard, and that Pestigore came back, and we didn't prevent the score. The good news is, the Nurgle are actually down one of their big killers. They're down 2 of their ablative rotters, which means I think they only have 2 for the LOS right now, or 1 maybe? No, 2. So they have to expose a Pestigore or a Nurgle warrior. Actually, I'd probably expose the beast here, if anything. Maybe the wrestle guy, because wrestle is a thing. And Big Chuck is his whole team. He gets 3 LOS blocks here. Could potentially also foul. And then we get to go into his drive where he gets another 3 LOS blocks. So if things go really well for Big Chuck here, we could suddenly be going into his own drive up 3 or 4 players. And he's currently up 1. Yeah, both Appos gone, Wizard gone. Lost, 2 players. Only one of them was a rotter, though. And you scored. Seems pretty good for the Nurgle. Until you say, oh, also their ball was sacked 3 times. And then you're like, wait, how did that happen? Well, how we analyze it, Herringzord, is that we do it post hoc, and we do after action analysis and make everybody else angry. With Bark, well, the Nurgle had a drive. They lost a good Nurgle warrior and a rotter, and then this to a foul, but they had a bench of 2, so they're only down 1. They injured a Agi beast. I almost said Beastigore. They're not Beastigores. Are they? Yes, they are. And the Nurgle used both Appos and their wizard. Or the Chaos used both Appos and their wizard. Those are the things that happened, and you would probably be like, that's great for the Nurgle, until I told you that the Nurgle accomplished all of that while having their ball carrier sacked 3 times. Which is a thing. One down! Only 1 rotter remains. It does feel like the Chaos are still in this, especially if they get another room. They have another 4 LOS blocks. They have 1 now and then 3 at the start of next half. And the Nurgle are now down 2, so they're playing with 9. And on their next LOS, they have to field 2 good players because they only have 1 rotter left. Well, I feel like Big Chuck is answering that question for us. Because if this isn't a foul, I don't know what is. And I think I absolutely would too. Potentially losing a player, but your opponent has gone through his bench. Regen. But at least we're not sent off. If we remove that player there, suddenly your opponent has 2 Pestigores, 3 Pestigores, and 1 rotter, and their next LOS is going to be really rough. Pestigore has more value. Rotter doesn't have regen. It's a variance thing, I guess. You're more likely to get a removal on the rotter, but the Pestigore has a more impactful removal. Depends on if you want to play risky. The variance is different. I'm shrugging right now, but I don't have a camera on, so you can't tell. Personally, I think I would have gone for the Pestigore. Just because higher value, honestly. And either one is going to require him to put a player on the line that he doesn't really want to. There is that argument too with Bark, I think, in that the Pestigore is or sorry, the Rotter is easier to remove later than the Pestigore is. If you're thinking further ahead, you know, you're 100% getting another hit on that Rotter. Rotter is armor 8 and you have Mighty Blow, but he doesn't have any skills. You might get like a both down skull on this Pestigore, and you're not going to reroll that on turn 9. Animation. Oh. Well, 1 for 1. One of those is worse. Stupid rock. Just an MNG means he's probably going to be okay. It means you don't have him for the next game, and it means you don't have him for now. But if you had to pick a Chaos Warrior to lose for this game, I think that's probably the one you pick, right? This, you've got the claw Mighty Blow one you want to keep around. This one is strength. I think it's the same as Bad Egg was the same as Necessary Evil, wasn't he? He's just a... I'm gonna look at that. Yeah, just block Mighty Blow. So, I mean, this guy would have been fine either, I suppose. But you don't really want to lose a Chaos Warrior. Yeah, you'll get to hit the Rotter with Mighty Blow, he said. I mean, if you've ever watched anything I've ever said, or ever casted, or ever made videos about, everything I say is wrong. Like, is immediately proved to be wrong the moment I say it. Like, I think that's a pretty consistent theme with me. I did win the tipping competition in Rel for Shadora and I's recaps of Rel 1 and 2A this season, as in I predicted more matches correctly than he did. So I get the illustrious title of Wonder Twin A for Season 13. But in general, most of the things I say turn out to be wrong in one way or another. And yeah, I mean, Mighty Blow is irrelevant, it turns out. Who cares? So, I mean, does it... Wait, so I was wrong and then right again? Somehow? Right? Like, you get another Mighty Blow hit on the Rotter, he should be pretty easy to remove. And then the Mighty Blow guy goes down, you don't get the Mighty Blow hit on the Rotter, but then you remove the Rotter anyway? So, like, I'm right but wrong? Is that a thing that just happened? Quantum wrongness? I won't know what happens until I open the box. Is the Steak Mittens wrong or right? Who knows? Well, there's another removal. We finally got rid of the, and you don't get to roll regen on KOs. So we finally got rid of that Pestigore. So the Nurgle are suddenly down players. And by suddenly, I mean they were before, but now they're down more players. Which name are we happy about? Alphabet Row? 2 wrongs do make a right, I guess sometimes. Well, something that I do know is that 3 rights make a left. Or the other way around, if you so choose. This very much looks like Big Chuck has a bit of an advantage. The big thing is that most of the players that the Nurgle care about are now exposed all the time. Like whenever we get LOS blocks or whenever we need to put a player in the way or whenever we need to base up somebody, we have to do it with a relevant player. Because all the Rotters are gone, the Wrestle Tackle Pestigore is gone. Like, we only have valuable players left. So, if you want to do something to stop the Chaos from doing what they want to here, you have to expose your good players. And that might snowball, right? Bash versus Bash matchups, you often see snowballs happen pretty quickly. You know, you lose players, and then suddenly it's hard to get your own blocks or keep up with your own removals, and it's easier for your opponent to block you and easier for your opponent to find good blocks or more blocks. And then suddenly those removals spiral into more and more things, and then you're sad. Just like that beast is. So very sad. Correct. If you're right 4 times, nothing happens. You know, that's surprisingly accurate, Wolfram. I mean, that's the case in just about everything, though. Well, okay. Necessary Evil is injured, which is annoying. For Big Chuck. Both block Mighty Blow Warriors are down. Oof. That was scary. I lost my train of thought because that happened, but it was something about that's very true in a lot of aspects of life. There's a lot of bias in a lot of things. People like to point out the times they were right. They don't like to point out the times they were wrong. Other people will remember the times you were wrong, not the times you were right. If someone asks a question, only the people that think they have a good answer will respond. This is a very weird example, but bear with me. On the like personal finance type websites and like subreddits and stuff, you very rarely see the person post the like, I'm having a lot of money troubles right now. This is what I'm doing. Most of the time you see people who are like, I'm great and everything's great. Look how great I am. People are a lot more willing to talk about things when they're good things for them. And people are more willing to talk about things when they're bad things for other people. So that extends to a lot of aspects of stuff. People remember the wrong thing. They never remember the time you did the right thing. Yeah, he dodged afterwards. But that was pretty terrifying. Both the aspect of the palm and the aspect of dodging afterwards. It was certainly an aggressive blitz. Yeah, I don't know if you follow that at all. Like, I don't think I would have followed that. I mean, he followed for the purpose of being able to palm, right? And then decided not to once he got an injury. I say palm, I mean Poe. I just don't think I don't think I would have followed that. Because I would have been too scared of piling on afterwards. So what's the point of following? Well, Big Chuck in a relatively good position here. If he wants to score early. The whole Nurgle team is on this side of the field. There is no defense offered for this push whatsoever. And the Chaos are in a position where they could score next turn if they're willing to roll dice, or in 2 turns if they don't want to roll dice. And we'll see what Big Chuck chooses to do here. I think they're both valid options. You could either attempt to stall if you feel good and aim for overtime, or if you think that you have the player advantage just because of the removals that have happened, although that's looking less and less to be the case. You could score early and try to turn over. I think my play would be to put myself in a position to score next turn, so on Chuck's turn 12, and then see how my punchy dice went, and if I got another removal or 2, you could aim for the win, but if you don't, and then a stall is probably more likely, because you can continue to try to get removals until you get overtime. It's a hard choice. And I think it's very contextual. Yeah, Herringzord is agreeing with me, it seems. You want to... The thing in this situation, I feel, as a player who often plays this type of matchup and this team, is you want to leave yourself options. So you want to put yourself in a position where you can score very easily without any dice rolls if you want to, while attempting to try to get some removals. And then if things don't go your way, you just score and make sure you get it. Or if things do go, or if things really go your way and you get a boatload of removals, you can just score. It depends on how aggressive you feel, what kind of removals happen, what position you're in. It's like super contextual. But just giving yourself some options of what you can do, I think, is probably the best you can hope for. And I did say that at the start, Wolfram. If I had to pick a team beforehand in a bash matchup, I generally pick the Nurgle just because things like foul appearance and regen often slightly favor the Nurgle when it comes to just punching each other. Numerically, that is. Well, you say regen ain't here today, but there's only been one player capable of regenning. So far we are 0 for 1 on regens, which is well within probability. Because Rotters don't have regen, it turns out. Oh no, we made one on the Wrestle Pestigore. That's correct. I forgot about him. So we're exactly even. I think you really just want to put yourself in as good a position to give yourself as many options as possible this turn, really. Make sure that you're capable of scoring incredibly easily next turn, if that becomes the choice you have to make. But also see if you can get a removal or two. Because depending on how removals go one way or the other, very, very much will influence your choice of whether to stall or whether to not stall. Right? Like Big Chuck has a babe. If the Nurgle suddenly get like 2 or 3 KOs on the chaos, he might want to score to try to get that those KO rolls back. Looks like we are not scoring. I mean, I wouldn't have recommended scoring this turn either, but we're just going straight back, which implies to me a stall. I think Big Chuck feels like he wants to stall. If he wanted to give himself the option of next turn scoring, he probably would have blitzed this piece. That's an injury. That Beast of Nurgle has been an absolute moron. All kinds of really stupids. And then fails regen. Jingo Jango, you are a terrible beast. You are also nickeled now. Moving the ball back very much implies playing for overtime to me. Although the removal of the beast is a pretty useful thing. Because that was kind of like the one player that the Nurgle had left that they didn't care about. I mean, he's expensive, he's a beast. But he's also slightly harder to block, being strength 5, and he's the only like rookie player you have. So now, like, literally every player is one that you would really, really hate to lose as the Nurgle. Here comes a foul. That's a KO. Things are looking pretty good for Big Chuck right now in terms of the removals. But if we're playing for overtime, we're going to want to make sure that all of these guys are staying out. I mean, I would replace him and move on if you could afford to replace him. If you can't afford to replace him, then you can't. And it turns out that's how money works. Especially since this team was 2,100 before this started, so spiraling expenses is entirely possible that they didn't have as much money as you'd like to have. I would rather play a game against elves with a niggled Beast of Nurgle than no Beast of Nurgle. But he would be on the chopping block to be replaced ASAP. Is their next opponent Nurgle? Nurgle heavy corner of the bracket, I guess. Or Bash heavy corner. Nurgle just aiming to try and get removals of their own back. And if that was their game plan, did you want to reroll that, considering that is your Claw Mighty Blow hit? I mean, there's the argument of saving the rerolls for overtime. But if you just let the chaos continue to bully you, you're not going to have any players for overtime, and that's probably more of an issue than not having rerolls for overtime. And if your plan is to just try to hit them back and see if you can even up the removals, then you should probably grid things. Don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. I have no idea what this. I haven't checked. I would assume so, considering this is one of the last games for the Challengers Cup. A lot of them have occurred. It's Wednesday. It has to be one of the last games. I would probably target. Well, I guess it depends on how you feel. Targeting warriors. The warriors are the ones that have the removal skills. So if you're worried about your players, you target the warriors. If you're worried about like winning the game in overtime, I would probably target the beasts. They're the only ones that can do anything with the ball reliably. They're the only ones that can really sack you reliably. And considering there's only one claw Nurgle warrior, I'd probably be aiming for the beasts personally. Oh, I think Oni's fine no matter what occurs here then. I do mean Pestigore. I just say beast because it's the same model. And it's easier for my poor little brain to try and parse things when there are fewer words to do so with. My day job involves a lot of thinking about things. And it turns out trying to relax after my day job with something that requires a lot of thinking about things can be difficult if it's been a particularly taxing day at work. Which today wasn't really, to be fair, but my default mode after returning from work to home is brain goes off, steak become silly now. Oh, sorry. Well, I meant that the Nurgle warriors can't handle the ball very well. They can't sack the ball very well. If you're worried about your overtime chances, I'd be mostly focusing on the Pestigores, if at all possible. Better? That's also a good question, Falcon, and it depends on what type of player you feel you are. I know some coaches certainly would. Some coaches would go all in trying to just stop the score. They would just like throw these players at the wall of chaos. Some would probably do a mix, and that's probably what I would do. I mean, this turn you have a block here, and I would absolutely endeavor to try and take a 2-die with this guy. If your KOs don't come back, you just lose. Like if you have 2 KO rolls left if we go to overtime, and if they don't come back, you lose the game. Unless you do something about trying to even up the player count. So just preserving your players is gambling on all of these guys coming back, which might be a little terrifying to do. I mean, if these KOs don't come back and the Nurgle, even if the Nurgle win the toss, they have 4 players. 3 of them go in the LOS, 1 picks up the ball, the Chaos run around and steal and win. The Nurgle really want to try to even up the player count, and they are doing so. Air is injured. That's 3 Chaos Warriors down for the Chaos. Oof. Yes, 2 KO rolls, average 3 or 4. So assume you get 2 to 3 players back on average, right? Okay, which of these players is it? If it's these guys, you probably lose. If it's these guys, maybe, right? And you're leaving your chances of winning entirely up to the KO rolls at that point. And while I know that some coaches would be glad to do that, that's something that I don't think I could do. I'd much rather try actively to make it better for myself than just pray that the KO rolls work out in my favor, even if you assume average recoveries. I mean, that's just me personally. I know some coaches definitely would just try to preserve the rest of their players. But the other thing is, Nurgle Warriors are slow, and Beastmen are not as slow. So even if you tried to run away, you know, Big Chuck could still just headhunt them. They're never going to escape. No, I do not. Because I don't think I was around then. I'm a college coach. Or was a college coach 5 seasons ago. 5? Does that make sense? If you include college and minors, I suppose. College minors, 3 seasons of Rebel. Yes. I think I bought it. I think I bought the game at Legend. I was in that massive influx of coaches to the Rookie League when Chaos or the Legendary Edition came out. Speaking of that, Big Chuck is also one of those. He was in my college season. I think he was in my college div, actually. My Nurgle team played against Big Chuck's Necro, I want to say, in college. My Nurgle team that still exists and was in Rel 1 this season. Big Chuck also came from college. They miscoded the overtime. Well, they miscoded a lot of things. Although I can feel good about having directly contributed to one of the bugs being fixed, which was kind of nice. Submitted a clip of the whole, like, strip ball dodge, stand firm on a stumbles interaction not working when it should or whatever, and submitted that to the bug forum, and eventually they fixed that. That was cool. I helped. They said they fixed it, according to their patch notes, so who knows? They probably didn't. But the patch notes say it was fixed. Well, then it's good job. Good job, Cyanide, for not fixing things that you said you would. It was in the patch notes. It should be Strip Ball and Defender Stumbles who has dodge. And stand firm, if I recall correctly. Somebody did a thing. Oops. My stays followed. Well, hello. I hope the new job is working out for you. And that you're enjoying your time here, despite the last week being ludicrously cold. Can we 2-die here? I mean, yes? No? I mean, if we're willing to roll dodges. I use 2 heads, so yeah. 2+2+ to 2-die the ball. Jimmy Fantastic is raiding with a party of 35. Hello, Jimmy folks. We're watching the I keep saying Cripple Cup because I see CC Challengers Cup round of 64 between Big Chuck and Stassi. We are on turn 13. Welcome along. The Nurgle do have a 2+2+ to attempt to sack the ball here through this spot with a 2 heads dodge and then a GFI to actually get the 2-die. We'll see if he takes it. If it doesn't work, you're in kind of a rough position because this guy is going to immediately get punched by something terrifying. And he's like your one hope for winning overtime if you go there. But if you don't do it, you lose. Or if you don't, well, if you don't do it, you go to overtime and maybe you have him. I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like you do it. I would do it. Yeah, exactly. You probably get surfed or you get punched by like a mighty blow or claw mighty blow immediately afterwards. But I think you have to try it because you could just win the game if things go really well. And if things don't go really well and you lose him, well, you probably weren't going to do that well in overtime anyway, considering all of this stuff over here. And Arian is followed. Welcome along. What does Chuck have for KOs? Nothing. He does have a babe, but three of his Chaos Warriors are injured. And he has a plus Agi Beastman who is also injured. Nice babe, idiot. Yeah, well, it actually hasn't mattered. I don't think he's actually had to roll a KO yet. He did take 2 appos, and he's gone through both of them because he power appoed pretty aggressively on some players. Well, GFI failed, so that's the first part of this not working. We do find the knockdown, though. The scatter is going to be pretty important here. That could have been worse, I guess. Iron Adept is rating with 5. Welcome along. More Challengers Cup. Round of 64. Big Chuck and Stassi, Nurgle and Chaos, turn 14. This is the Chaos drive. The Nurgle scored on their drive. For all of you who have recently joined us, I would like to point out that the Chaos, they had 2 appos and a wizard. So the Nurgle managed to finish their drive having gone through both of the Chaos appos and the Chaos wizard, and they scored, right? That sounds like a pretty good situation, right? Yeah, they managed to do so while having their ball carrier 2-die sacked 3 times. Like, their ball carrier was sacked and the ball was on the floor 3 separate times during that drive while all that stuff happened. So that was the thing. I just want everybody to be aware that that occurred during the first half of this game. Sorry, I just punched my mic there while, like, waving my arms about angrily. I don't know if it came through. I think it was just the pop filter. All right, Big Chuck. We're going to surf... no, we already blitzed, so I guess we're not going to. I was going to say we could have surfed that ball carrier, but we are not going to do so. We have removed all the tackle zones from the ball. If we wanted to score now, we could. Off the back of a 3+ pickup, of course. Some more blocks to make, though, that we're probably going to do. I think I preferred surfing this guy. As I was saying before, if this does go to overtime, which it is looking like it is going to do, words are difficult. The goats are the biggest threats, really, for you in overtime. I mean, if your opponent wins the coin toss and he only has Nurgle Warriors left, it's not going to be terribly difficult to turn him over. Oh, Big Chuck just taking the score here. Probably a little bit earlier than they would have liked. Where was I? The goats are a much bigger threat to your overtime win or loss than the Nurgle Warriors are, I feel. And especially one that is, 2 heads, extra arms, blodge. Or no, he doesn't have dodge. Does he? Maybe, am I thinking of the Chaos Goat? We'll have to see in a second. In any case, I think that goat, that Pestigore, is more of a threat. Then isn't that exactly what I said? Wait, before this, I was like, you're relying on those KOs to come back, and you're like, it's probably 2, and I was like, yeah, but you want these 2 to come back, and those 2 didn't come back, so we don't have those 2 players. Yeah, he does have dodge, so I think the blodge, 2 heads, extra arms, sure hands is more of a threat to you in overtime than anything else, and getting a free injury roll on him by surfing him is pretty good. Also, he's really the only threat that was on the field at the moment that could have stopped you from, or like stopped you from picking up the ball. Sure, the Nurgle Warriors could be tackle zones on the ball or whatever, but they're probably not going to be picking it up. When you have more players that can assert tackle zones on them. So I think I prefer surfing the Pestigore there. But if you were going to score that turn, which obviously Big Chuck wanted to, that was probably the way you had to do it, right? We had to blitz the guy off the ball and stuff. So if you were going to score that turn, that's what you had to do. And if you wanted to score, then there you go. Hey, the king's back! They were the wrong KOs. I mean, those would be good KO rolls. Those are good KO rolls if you're cheering for Big Chuck, or if you're expecting those other KO rolls to come back going into overtime, and then you have all four. There were certainly average KO rolls, and then you got 2 of your 4 on your 50% roll, which is all you can really ask for. Things being nice and average. But I think you would have preferred one of these guys going towards overtime. The Nurgle are going to have a... I mean, well, it's possible. They could 3-turn. It's going to be hard with what you have available. I think the Nurgle probably would have wanted to spend their 3 turns just removing Chaos players to make overtime easier. And this guy and this guy are not going to help you remove things very much more easily than anything else. Oh, sorry about that. The extra arms caught the ball. Sorry for not showing it as well as I could have. Hey, maybe the babe will do a thing. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the Chaos. Well, 7 now. But they do have a babe, so, you know, more likely than not 8 as of now. Killer, probably. Whichever one is easier, I guess, is the best answer there. I mean, you do have to balance making sure you actually go to overtime, namely not letting the Nurgle 3-turn. Which is theoretically possible. And trying to get removals to make overtime easier. Who are the good guys? Well, that depends on whether you like Chaos or Nurgle, or if you like Big Chuck or Stassi. I would say whether you like Rel or Rel, because they're both Rel coaches. One of them is from Rel 3 and one of them is from Rel 4, so it's pretty difficult to differentiate them by region or tier. So you've got to pick Chaos or Nurgle. I may be mildly biased in that Big Chuck was in my college season and in my college division when I first started playing Blood Bowl in the Rookie League. So there's a small part of me that is a little bit biased towards Big Chuck, and I will admit that. But I do my best to try and not let it show too much. Is it Stacy? Okay. I didn't know. I've never heard it said, so I didn't know how to pronounce it. Thank you for correcting me. I'll endeavor to continue with Stacy as the pronunciation. Stacy's been around Rebel for a couple seasons. In fact, I can probably tell you exactly how many seasons, because Rebel.net is the greatest thing ever. Since season 10, so this is the 3rd season for Stacy. And they've played this Nurgle team the whole time. So season 10, Season 11 and Season 12, they were playing Skurgle. The Snurgle team. Stacy's Bond has got it going on. She's all that I want, and I've waited for so long. Stacy, can't you see? You're just not the girl for me. I know I might be wrong, but I'm in love with Stacy's Bond. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been subjected to that. It's niggled now. It wasn't at the start of this match. Stun. Can of Worms is stunned. Scoring threat. That's very true. And we have stupid is as stupid does as the safety chorf back here. Try to prevent the Nurgle from scoring on their own. The Nurgle do have to, you know, get a scoring threat this turn, as it is turn 15, if they would like to avoid going to overtime. And as far as I can tell, that's going to involve knocking over these players and running forward. Good luck. Are you comparing me to Monty? Because I feel like that's a compliment I'd be willing to take. Although I'm slightly less crazy, I think. Or at least I like to think. Here you go. Have some stick mittens. Things are smelling like they're gonna get awful starchy in here very quickly, I feel. I don't know who David Gray is. You'll find that's a theme with me. You're probably going to name a lot of people and I won't be able to tell you who they are because I am so disconnected from, like, pop culture-y things. Which is terrible because I go to a lot of pub trivia nights and whenever they ask questions about celebrities, I'm like, who's that? So that doesn't work out very well. I don't know because at the end of those at the end of those one-day tournaments, I tend to be a little bit crazy and not thinking very well. Were you playing goblins? Because I play goblins in the Cripple Cup. Yeah, you could probably call me a hipster. Yes, yeah, that would be me. Okay, so it was me who played in the Cripple Cup Losers Finals. Gotta get this ball going forward, though. That is an important step to winning. Is, you know, scoring touchdowns. And an important step to scoring touchdowns is ensuring a player that has the ball is within range of the end zone. Because that is how Blood Bowl works. And you should all thank me for my wonderful advice. I play flings in the huge Jackman Memorial Cup, if that helps. And I can proudly say that I directly influenced the rules, which is kind of funny. Actual damage in terms of like non-badly hurts, yeah, there's like MNGs. One of the Chaos Warriors is MNG'd. Maybe 2? I'd have to check. And let's see. This one is just badly hurt. He's just moving players down here. Oh, he failed the GFI. Never mind. Maybe I shouldn't have checked because that wasn't exciting. That's a surf ball. Goodbye. Like, immediately. Alright, see ya. Hey, look what happens when you surf the ball carrier. They're gone for overtime, and then it's easier for you. Big if true, factual if large. Regen failure. Okay, now you can say that regen has been bad, I think. I think you're allowed to say that now. Where did the ball go? Oh, all the way down there. That's not ideal. I don't even think it's possible anymore. No. Well, there was a chance, but the ball coming in down there didn't really accomplish what you needed it to. I mean, we're going to overtime, which I guess is good. But Big Chuck was in a position where it was possible for him to win in regulation there. But he needed the scatter, or the throw-in from the surf to work out in his favor, and it did not. But we're going to overtime. Some schools of thought would call that punished. I think I would agree with you. Well, he was trying to sideline cage by putting this Nurgle Warrior up there, but he needed to double GFI to do so, and he just failed one of them. So I think it would have been better to just put your player not in a surfable position. That's a double skull. I'm okay. I was trying to say nice babe not doing what it should was actually, we'll find out in the dice rolls. Is the babe what done it? Well, the Nurgle get all of their KOs back. I was trying to say something, and words are difficult, and there's a lot of stuff happening. You shouldn't have sidelined. There was no reason to. Even if you made all those GFIs, like, if anything happened, you lose. It's one of those situations where if this works, it's really good, but if it doesn't work, I lose the game. Or potentially lose the game, anyway. And it was better to be, I think it was better to be slightly less safe, but not surfable. Especially considering, in our post-hoc analysis, which you should never do, that he got injured, because now we don't have the ball carrier for overtime. Was it the, babe, what done did it? Where's the KO rolls? Why can't I find the KO rolls? Down here? Nope. Babe didn't do anything. He rolled a 4. Without the +1. The other one was a 1. Yeah, I think he should have gone along this line. And then, you know, maybe put one of the Nurgle Warriors here or something, or here, so that the, like, blitz to get away from the guard, at least, would have had to been more movement. I'm sure, I don't remember the exact positioning of the players, but I think not being on the sideline and then just trying to do something with the Nurgle Warriors to get them more in the way, or maybe trying to do your best to make the block a 1 dice instead of a 2 dice, was probably your best hope there. I think going down the sideline was not a good idea. But we do get to go to overtime still, so even the fact that that failed, we end up in overtime. Although it would have been better to be in overtime with your ball carrier, but, you know, too late now. Is it 7 versus 7? 4, 7, 4, 7. Yeah, Blood Bowl 7, so you go. The Nurgle have him outstrengthed because they have Nurgle Warriors, and the Chaos have 1 Chaos Warrior. Although the Chaos have them out-movemented, considering they have more beasts. and there is a movement 7 one, and they have an actual ball carrier with block sure hands. And they also, you know, get to be on offense, which turns out is pretty helpful in overtime. These overtime rules are the standard overtime rules as they are implemented in Blood Bowl. Namely, golden goal, which is a term I had not heard of until I came to Blood Bowl, because that comes from football, and I don't really follow football, being a Canadian. I generally would have referred to it as sudden death. But it is golden goal. And if you go the full 24 to the end of turn 24 without a touchdown, we go to kicks, which is basically just a dice off. You roll d6s and add your rerolls. Whoever gets the highest wins. Pouring rain is a thing that is going to be annoying, but probably not terrible, considering we have sure hands to at least make it a like natural 75% pickup. In Clan League is where they are currently implementing the overtime rules, where if you fail to score on offense, the defense wins. And I believe it's a not exactly hidden secret that it's basically being tested, right? I'm pretty sure it's been said several times. Is that the powers that be want to see what that looks like as a rule in and how often it occurs and what sort of results occur out of it, and if there are any problems and whatever in Clan, so that it could potentially be implemented into the main leagues. Foul appearance. Twice. Smelly. Well, it also turns out, Wolfram, that different countries have different slang. I hope that's not a surprise to you. Sometimes they even have different languages. How weird is that? I mean, I think that's like the first time we've seen foul appearance this game, and they both happened in a row, which is kind of funny. At least I don't remember another one. Normally I get really excited at foul appearance, being like a Nurgle coach a lot of the time, and seeing foul appearance makes me happy. So I feel like if it had happened before, I probably would have screamed about it, or at least mentioned it. So I'm going to use that as hard, 100% factual evidence that it hasn't happened before. Because it's my stream, and I'll do that if I want to. Fun fact, Canada has a national maple syrup reserve. It's a real thing. It was robbed once of several $1 million worth of maple syrup. Your next question is going to be, why? And the answer to that is Japan. And, you know, we can leave it at that. No, it turns out that Japan really likes maple syrup, and they want to import a lot of it. A lot of it comes from Quebec, and part of the, like, we will import it, a lot of your maple syrup deal is we want to guarantee the supply of the maple syrup. We don't ever want there to be not as much as we want. It's like, we'll buy a ton from you, but only if you can guarantee the supply of it. And the only way to guarantee the supply of it is to store a bunch of it. So, you know, there's a maple syrup reserve. Turns out. 130, you know, that's an injury. I feel like you haven't watched any of my casts before. If you think that it's a surprise that I spend half of the cast talking about things that are totally irrelevant to Blood Bowl. You know, I'm an okay coach, but there's like 70 of you. 70 of you are going to notice things a lot more frequently than I am. Sometimes it's easier to just talk about maple syrup. So yeah, I mean, Oni being the opponent for the winner of this match is pretty pleased with the number of removals that are occurring this game. Injuries all over the place. Can the Nurgle get to the ball? Not effectively. You know, at the start of this drive, I would have said that the Chaos were most likely to go home with this. But considering that their ball carrier is alone, one of their players is marked on a rotter, one of them's on the floor, and these three are all about to, are all stuck on Nurgle Warriors, it's a little terrifying for Big Chuck, certainly. Letterkenny is an amazing show. I enjoy it. And, you know, not entirely as inaccurate as you think it would be about parts of rural Canada. Make yourself a hot rum toddy, Wolfram. It's rum and maple syrup. What could be better than that? There are 2 MNG Chaos Warriors and a movement bust on that beast. So even if Big Chuck does go through, we're missing quite a lot of Mighty Blow for his next game, which is a little disappointing. We'll be missing a Beast of Nurgle, and I think the rest of these, and I mean some Rotters, who really cares. I think this guy is just badly hurt. Yeah. MNG, our ball carrier, so if the Nurgle win, they're going to be out a beast and their ball carrying Bestigor, which, while probably not as annoying as the Mighty Blow being out, the ball carrier being out is certainly going to be annoying for the Nurgle if they go forward. I mean, he will fire that beast eventually. He's definitely not going to have it for his next game. But if you don't have the money to replace the beast, I mean, there's no reason to fire him immediately after this game. You might as well wait to... He's MNG'd anyway. If you don't have the money to replace him right now, why fire him? Wait till after the game after and see how much money you have. Six v 6. You know, I think that when you play Blood Bowl 7s, the pitch is supposed to be smaller, but, you know, somebody correct me on that because I don't play tabletop. But I feel like when you play Blood Bowl 7s, the pitch isn't this big. One more removal and we have Death Zone. If Death Zone made any sort of sense. Backing off with the ball, which I think is probably right here. I mean, you really want to score as quickly as you can in overtime. That's an armor break and another removal. Okay. So there's one of the two that we want for Death Zone. Because we can't really get the ball safe up here anywhere. It's better to keep it safe for now. Especially if we keep up on the average of like 2 removals a turn. Eventually, neither team will have any players, and the ball will sit in the middle of the field for the rest of the match. And then we'll go to kicks, and Big Chuck will win because he has a reroll. Like, in half 1, you wouldn't have thought it was going to be a murder game. Because there was, like, 1 injury on both sides and a send-off. And now suddenly there's no team left for either side. Can the Chaos do anything about this ball? Or the Nurgle do anything with the ball? No. Not really. If you stand him up, you at least get a 2-die with the ex-girlfriend on one of these Pestigores, which is probably something you should aim for. You'd have to uphill this guy, right? If you knock this, or you could. This guy isn't 2 heads or anything, no. So dodging through here isn't likely to occur, even if you knock down this player. Can we go around this side? 1, 2, no. If we had 2 blitzes, we could probably get to the ball, but it turns out you don't get 2 blitzes because that's not how Blood Bowl works. There were 2 output injuries in the first half, that's accurate. Yeah, you can 1-die the spot, and then you can stand up here and 2-die this guy. You've got to be careful where you push them to, but you can give yourself a hole through the center. The wrestle, if you get the wrestle as a result, that doesn't work. Is this a 1-die? This is a 1-die because this guy is guard. So we're not aiming for that. I don't even know what the... I was going to say I don't know what the cards are, but, you know, there's another injury. Another MNG. Another Mighty Blow MNG'd for Big Chuck. You're going to go into his next game with none if he wins this. We are now at 5-on-5. It's a hockey game. Yes, True Blue. We all know that I am far too hipster to allow for something mainstream like Blood Bowl 7s. We have to go down to Death Zone. Oh, man. I shouldn't have made the hockey reference. Because I'm a Leafs fan, and anybody who knows anything about hockey knows how sad Leafs fans are this season. That's a turnover. Although we did just fire Babcock, so that's kind of nice. But we'll see if he was actually the problem or not. Irrelevant hockey things. Now we are moving forward as Big Chuck. That the pitch is slightly more controlled. Oh my god. Okay, it's just a stun this time. No more removals. The stun is really good though, because he's out for the next turn and we can get in scoring range. All we really have to do is control this Pestigore, and we're pretty happy. He's the only one that can really do anything about this ball. I mean, this Nurgle Warrior can do a bunch of dodges and double GFI, but does that really count? Man, hitting one dying the Mighty Blow guy is pretty terrifying, but do you do it with Wrestle just so that you can control this guy a bit better? No, he takes the GFI. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So no, that's... He's going to have to do dodges through if he wants to do anything about that. Does take the 1 die against Wrestle. Does not find the result, though. You say that's got to be it. I mean... oh man, do you take this GFI? I don't think you do. With a GFI here, that makes the sack from this guy basically impossible. Right now it's a 4+ dodge, it would be a 5+ dodge. But if you failed that, then you have just double GFI from the Nurgle Warrior. So that you can't do that. So we have a what is this? 4+, 2. Yeah, 4+, 3+, 2+. To 2-die the ball with Wrestle Tackle. No reroll though, which is fairly unlikely. You know, 50% times 60 something percent times 80 something percent. He does not need to sack the ball this turn. That's true. None of your business followed. Thank you. Well, the problem with just being patient is that this Nurgle Warrior is irrelevant. This one is not irrelevant yet. It's really these Pestigors that need to get back here and do something. And this not being a knockdown is a little annoying. And you just made your dodge... Well, you're not dodging anymore, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you didn't need to sack that turn, but it was certainly an option, and I feel like it was probably an okay one. Because if this didn't go well, which it didn't, Big Chuck goes to here. This guy's already on the floor. Man, the Nurgle need to dodge him out and then need to get him somewhere more relevant to actually threaten this ball. If you just leave him on the floor or just stand him up, he's not going to do anything. And then Big Chuck has no threat from the Nurgle at all. I think I'm pretty firmly in the camp of you probably should have attempted to sack that turn, but I don't know. I don't think it's super straightforward. Would I have sacked that turn? I think is a good question. And I think I'd probably say yes. I think I would have probably sacked that turn. But if you don't get this Pestigor like out here somewhere now, like after a dodge, Big Chuck is just going to win. We're going to take the ball up here. We're going to punch you. Then all we have to do is see what we can do about doing something on this guy. We could blitz this guy, and if we get a knockdown, you move him around to get assists here, so that we could punch the Pestigor, who's really the only threat. Is this Nurgle Warrior is gonna have to double GFI for a to mark the ball now after those GFIs, and that's not good enough. Yeah, so we're gonna blitz this guy, and then we're gonna use him as an assist to try to hit the Chaos or the Pestigor. Yeah, it's very true, Wolfbark. Like, it's very easy for us to say these kinds of things when, one, we're not playing, we're just kind of hanging out. And two, there are 77 of us, 78 if you include me. Crowdsourced Blood Bowl. Probably a bit easier than playing it yourself sometimes. Well, the Nurgle literally cannot do anything about this. The only thing that they could feasibly do to even make this remotely not free for Big Chuck is 5+4+2+2+ to mark up the ball. And really all that does is make Big Chuck have to roll a blitz before he scores. Is that worth doing? I mean, I guess it depends on how badly you want to win this game. Because that's literally your only option to do anything that could stop Big Chuck from scoring for free. And it's not really good, but there's nothing else that makes it not free. Can he chain him forward? Not if he still wants to blitz afterwards, at least not the way he did it. Oh wait, this guy hasn't moved yet, right? Yeah, so he can chain him forward to make the basing easier, I guess, but the base isn't going to accomplish much either when he just has to blitz himself free. There you go. That's that game. And in our fun results-based analysis, it wouldn't have worked anyway because he failed that last bit. Big brain. Nice orc cheerleaders. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I don't remember the field position exactly, but I'm pretty sure you needed to blitz to do the chain push, and then that was just making the basing easier, not allowing you to actually hit the ball. So it would have made the basing, instead of a 4+3+2+2+, the basing would have been a, what, 3+2+? Because it saves the 4+ dodge. It might have saved the 3+ dodge too if you got a knock. No, because it would have, no, yeah, it saved the 4+ dodge in one GFI. But all that does is make it so that the Cilche-os had to do was blitz and then score instead of for free. But I guess technically it makes it not free, which is better than leaving it free. But it's not exactly something that we probably would have seen the exact same outcome either way. Big Chuck followed. Welcome along. Nice to see my fellow college coach from the same season. Moving on towards the next round. Now let me check the playoff calendar real quick. Yes, it's on Space Lions channel is the next one. That is also a Challengers Cup game between the Doom Anvils and the Sterling Hornets. I'm going to send you guys all over there now. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to try to get the right channel here. Space Lion Bear. Thanks for hanging out with me. I've been Steak Mittens. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I know I had a good time. I'm certainly going to be casting more playoff matches this season. If you like me, feel free to look for me when I cast them. I know they're very rambly, but you know, that's the kind of person I am. Thanks very much, everybody who's hanging out with me. Hope you enjoy the rest of this week of playoffs and the rest of Rebel playoffs in general. And until next time, I've been Steak Mittens, and I'll see you then.